Welcome back to The Watch, and today we're going to be talking about the Marvels.
It's been out for about a week now, hasn't it?
It has. And we went to watch it.
Yeah, you can watch our full review. It was...
See, the thing is, it wasn't like what people expected. The people expected to be filled with a whole bunch of messages and stuff like that. It was just
bad.
It's just not a good movie.
Like, in terms of... It's funny, people will say, oh, it's the worst Marvel movie we've had in ages. I actually think Quantumania and Black Panther I enjoyed less than this. Yeah. This one was silly and kind of stupid at times, but it wasn't so unbearable that I wanted to walk out the theater.
Some bits were.
Some bits were. Some bits were very cringe, yes. I feel like. But what about... Well, I've heard personally, I know people who work at theaters and cinemas and stuff, and the Saturday, because we went on the Friday, I think
so. Something like
the day after, I know people who were working there, and they're like, it is peak time for the movies. Nobody. In big shopping centres, nobody's going to see this movie.
Well, we had a little bit of an inkling that it wasn't going to perform as well before it even launched, when they lowered their box office projections.
Yes.
And now that it's came out and it's been some time, and it's already not number one because the Hunger Games prequel, sequel, whatever it is, came out, and that's already at number one.
That's crazy to me, though. Because Hunger Games as a franchise isn't as big, I would say, as a Marvel franchise.
In a way. And so it came out, and it did not do well. In fact, I think it's the third worst performing video of all time from Marvel. Only beaten... Movie. What did I say?
So we're YouTubers, so we say video.
Oh, video. Whatever. Only beaten by Hulk 2008.
Yep.
And Shang-Chi Legend of the Ten Rings, which is interesting because I didn't know it did that bad. I just didn't care.
I knew that it wasn't received as well, but also that was kind of on the off-peak of Marvel's cinema, so I felt like it would have gotten more. But it's surprising that Marvel's actually got more than Shang-Chi, which is...
Yeah. Now, keep in mind that the last Marvel movie, Captain Marvel movie, did over $1 billion. And it's funny because at the time, everybody triumphed it as, oh, everybody wants to see this, blah, blah. And people like us said, no, it's wedged in between two of the most anticipated releases of all time.
Between the two giant Avenger movies.
Yes. But the press took that as the narrative and ran with it, that everybody loves it, blah, blah, blah. Now we fast forward to now, and the narrative is very interesting because the director seems to have come out and said that everybody who doesn't like this movie and everybody who doesn't, let's say...
Appreciate and enjoy. Anyone who critiques this movie.
Yes.
All the haters out there.
Is a racist, troll, homophobe, every single slur you can possibly think. Which is fascinating because we've even had, what's his name? Stephen King, that brainlet. He's came out and he said, I don't really care much for Marvel movies, but everybody celebrating its downfall is, the worst of the worst, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, mate... When the last movie came out and it was doing the greatest in the world and people said, no, it's not a good film and no, she's not really that good of a Captain. Everybody got destroyed for that, especially people who disagreed with the mainstream narrative at the time. So now people are reveling and saying, just going, this is fantastic. This is fantastic.
Well done, Marvel.
Yeah. And now, oh, no, you're not allowed to celebrate. We're allowed to celebrate, bro. You celebrated when it did well. We're celebrating that it didn't do well because we don't like the direction as fans that Marvel has taken things in.
Yes.
And the only way we vote with your wallets. That's what they say, right? You don't have to be mean about it. Just vote with your wallets. Don't watch it if you don't like it.
Exactly.
So people didn't watch it and they didn't like it, and now that's a problem. But it's been very interesting.
Do you know if it's actually reached its budget?
No.
Okay.
No, it hasn't. No.
Because I don't know the actual amount that they need to reach to just break even.
Well, usually, I can't remember. I'm just going to say this off the top of my head. Fact me in the comments. They spend a couple $100 million on a movie these days, and then they spend like an extra $100 million on
marketing and stuff.
Marketing, and it has nowhere near reached any of that yet. Yeah. I think I'm not even going to say any numbers off the top of my head
which is crazy because this is not Disney's first L for the year. We've had so many.
It's been an L year.
Bombed. But it's funny. It's only been for Disney. I feel like other movies have come out, like animation-wise, like Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Did gangbusters when that came out. They've made so much money, and it shows people still want superheroes. We just want good movies.
It's a good point you brought up because a lot of people are touting superhero fatigue as one of the reasons, and it's like. No, I'm hungry for more superhero stuff. Yeah. Just superhero stuff that I enjoy. And the thing is, when you sell a movie as like the Marvels, where it's featuring One is from the TV show, so an unknown character that isn't made. This is like a teenage angst show, which is fine, but obviously isn't going to capture mainstream audiences. Then you have another one, Monica Rambeau, who was in
WandaVision, I'm pretty sure, as a side
as
character.
a B character.
Yeah.
And then you have Captain Marvel herself,
who has not been in a film since Endgame, and even then showed up for a little bit. And it's funny because you should consider the faith they have in this film, because in the sequel they basically give you the whole plot summary of the first one, because they don't trust you to have remembered or even watched the last one.
And it's just been a whirlwind of disaster right from the start. Like, everybody knew that this wasn't going to do well, but it's just good to get that validation, because for so long the narrative was Captain Marvel is going to be, the new face of Marvel.
The new Iron Man.
Yeah. And they did $1 billion in the last film. So obviously, and it's like, settle down. No. And it's interesting because, like I said before, the directors have come out and said a lot of stuff.
Yes.
And I read an article just before we started, and it was the amount of brain rot people have had trying to defend like this film, not even like defend the film, just like trying to tout it as a success when it's so clearly not.
I will give them this. They are bloody creative in finding ways to make it look like it's on a pedestal. Because this movie has not done well. It hasn't won any awards. Yeah. Marvel hasn't even won any like Oscar nominations or whatever. But what award do they give themselves?
Well, it's very interesting because you see titles like The Marvels, the third lowest opening ever. You know, it's one of the worst movies of Marvel's ever, but all these things. And then one of them's like, The Marvels makes an unmitigated milestone, or whatever it is, as the first black female director to pass $100 million. Like, it's those participation trophy achievements that they just create for themselves.
You're the first, therefore you're the best.
Yeah. And I don't think anybody would call this, at this point in time, a success.
No.
It's just... And look, the thing is, the truth of the matter is, the movie is just mid. And the plot is kind of nonsensical. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. I thought it would be really bad. But there wasn't any overt political pushing agendas for the most part. It was just not a superhero movie that I'm interested in at all.
There were no stakes. The silliness was very... I think ever since Ragnarok showed up, Marvel's just gone on the trajectory of, people love silly. They love goofy silly. But the reason why people loved Ragnarok was because it was different, it was fresh, and the comedy...
But it also made sense. Like, when Tony Stark, Iron Man, is funny in a movie or is quippy, that's part of his character. That's who
he's sarcastic.
When Thor is, like, sarcastic and humorous in a weird sort of way, that makes sense for his character because that's how he developed as a character. Remember in the first movie, he's very wooden.
Yeah, very stoic and whatever.
But he's also funny in a weird way, where he's like, he's drinking the thing, and he's like, this was delicious, more! Yeah. It makes sense for their characters. So when you have every character be like that, it's like...
It does not... Or when you have worlds who are basically jokes, it does not work.
Yeah.
It's funny, too, because... We know what audience they're catering towards now, and that's a younger audience.
Yeah.
Because, spoilers for the end, they basically just set up the young Avengers, basically, the young all-female cast. Yeah. I don't think it's going to work because one of the things I've seen online, people are saying that, like, younger people humor is not like the older people humor where it's like all goofy and fun. Like Shad, for example. Shad loves... His favorite quote in this movie is when they fly away and Ms. Marvel's like, I can't fly. Shad found that funny because that's his humor.
That is his humor.
That's older humor. Younger kids like edgier or like more in-depth.
Not even younger.
Humor.
Just me and you just sat there like...
Yeah, I didn't laugh. But I'm saying like in terms if they want to be for a younger audience now, if they want to get like the Gen Alpha and the Gen Z kids in, they need to change their humor up to be something that actually, go on TikTok and... get some jokes.
Yeah. I'm also very interested to see if they actually continue down this direction. Because, like, let me put it this way. I'm sure they were banking on this film to not be a smash hit success, but to at least be profitable. At the very least.
Yeah.
And it's looking like this is just an L. Period.
It is.
And a lot of the movies over the last year from Disney Marvel have been just L's.
Yes.
So I'm very fascinated to see if they really want to try and push down that direction of like the young female Marvel
I think because of the way this movie... Because, for example, we had 2 end credit scenes. If they wanted to kind of step away from what their plans were, they would just cut that first end credit scene and put in that one they had afterwards.
But even then, like, spoiler alert for the second end credit scene, it's basically X-Men.
Yeah.
I would not bank. If I was Marvel, I would not bank on X-Men to save Marvel. Because keep in mind, we've already kind of had a pretty comprehensive X-Men
We have.
stuff back in the early 2000s. And to be honest, the casting back then was great. We had,
was
Hugh
perfect.
Jackman, we had Patrick
And
Stewart.
I feel like
it was
it's still too soon to recast a lot of the people because everyone's like,
that's still my Wolverine.
Yeah,
That's still my Professor X.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say something about, but yeah, just with younger audiences and whatever, and what they're going to do for the future, I think it's going to be probably another 5 years before we see anything change. Because I reckon they've already got scripts now for all their movies now.
I do too, but I feel like Disney across the board, not just with Marvel, with Marvel, Star Wars, with the Indiana Jones, with every franchise they're doing, they're kind of bleeding money.
They are.
It's become a very common a very common story this year that Marvel is producing these very expensive movies and not making their money back.
My fingers are crossed that because they've been eating up all these different IPs and franchises and companies. Fingers crossed they sell something to someone else. And then to make some money back,
I reckon Sony would buy stuff. I reckon Sony would buy some Marvel stuff.
I reckon WB, Warner Brothers would as well. And you know what? They haven't done. Well, they've been clearing house a lot as well. There was stuff where basically the higher up executives just fired all the people, all the writers and all those in charge who were doing very agenda-driven stuff. They're like, well, we don't want agenda. We want good stories and good content. And so my biggest hope in life is Star Wars gets sold to someone else because they bleed so much money. They're not going to because the power of the IP is so strong, and they're probably making money back just in terms of...
I wouldn't put it that way. I would put it as they've sunk $4 billion into that.
Yes.
And I'm sure they've made their money back by this point, but at the same time, they haven't
I think as Disney, though, they would keep onto that IP and that property just for the merchandising alone.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
They won't have to make any more movies. If they can just still sell Darth Vader t-shirts, they're good. Where other things, maybe less known IPs and stuff, if they're some other companies, maybe we'll have opportunities of actually having good franchises.
I don't feel like they'll do that. I feel like they're out there just collecting franchises like candy, and they don't want to sell nothing.
Well, right now, I don't think they're going to buy any more because they've basically bought everything. Yeah. And they're bleeding money now. They don't have...
Well, I don't think they've bought everything, but everything they want to buy is held by other big players who are not going to sell. Yeah. So like, Sony's never going to sell Spider-Man.
Again, this is my hope of, like, Disney's in such a desperate place, they will start to sell some of their lesser-known things so we can actually make good stuff. Because they're sitting on so much gold, and they're kind of just like, put a woman in it.
We've also been hearing a lot of rumblings about Disney Plus being in trouble.
Yeah, I've been looking at those actually. They are misquoting.
Misquoting?
Yes. What they're wanting to do is because they've bought Hulu now and HBO, they want to combine the two into one service and close down Disney Plus.
Hulu and and what?
They bought Hulu and I forgot the parent company for it.
I thought you said, okay. I thought you said HBO. I was like,
no, because HBO is owned by... Who owns HBO?
I don't know.
Is it Warner Brothers? It's not Warner Brothers. Maybe it is. But no, they've
bought smaller streaming
services and they want to combine it with Disney Plus. Right. And so part of the maintenance is to shut it down and combine it and kind of rebrand or whatever. Yeah. So, which is kind of annoying because I actually think, this is my hot take, Disney would have made more money in the long run had they just keep licensing out their own movies
to
other streaming services. Because right now, they're freaking out. They're like, we're going to take Willow off. There's an entire Space Kids TV show they made that was like millions of dollars. They never released it.
Yep.
And people who worked on it never got to see it because Disney just never uploaded it onto the streaming service because it's too expensive because no one watches it. Like, that's insane to me. It's cheaper just to license that off to some other streaming service that will just pay for it than you just waste all this money.
Yeah. Basically...
Like, they're doing such dumb business decisions.
Today, about Marvel taking all its L's and Disney, just in general, not doing well. But that's all for today's video. We hope you enjoyed. And remember to stay on watch.